His name is Daniel, but sometimes we call him Dan. No, most of the times we call him Dan. Few know about Dan, and only few can tell you of his story. And those who know him well say Dan knows all pain. They say he has been through a lot, yet he doesn't show. Even the women in the village say Daniel is a strong man. And so, as I sink deep in his story, I can feel his weakness. His eyes are weak, probably a broken heart. But Dan is humble, Dan is kind, and he doesn't speak much. But from his eyes, his days have been tough. His soul is breaking, his life is shaking. I can feel the bitterness in his speech. I can feel the hotness and burning and the weight of each word. And so unable to even say a word, the waiter pops in and I order for some drinks. And as the waiter walks away, we remain in silence. Daniel is probably fainting in heart. I can feel the stone in his heart pounding. He's weak from the inside, he's bitter. I can feel his silence talking to me, breaking into me. He's almost crying, he's bitter. I can feel all the bulk his heart is carrying, his untold stories and untold pains. His soul probably breaking, his heart full of whip and bitterness. And so the waiter shows up again. The drinks look cold, like he's already cold life. She's young, brilliant eyes with loose hair. She's probably doesn't speak much, but her voice is kind, and her service too is kind. Daniel doesn't drink beer. He's not the kind of man you will meet on the streets shouting. Unlike Douglas, the village drunk, he found refuge in his bottle. He found a home in his alcohol. He is always drunk, doesn't listen to anybody apart from his alcohol. Always staggering home, shouting at the top of his voice, cursing all those who talk about him, and displaying all the village secrets. Even the chief has heard a lot about Douglas. He gave up. For Douglas, it's always another day to get drunk. It's always another day to sip his beer and stagger home. It's always another day for another drink, another day for alcohol. For Douglas, it's always another day to sip. Well, they call him Douglas. But Daniel is not that kind of man. Daniel is not that kind of man.
Are you out there? Can you hear us? Are you...
Daniel is not that kind of man. Daniel is a good man. He has respect for all. He usually gives. He's humble. But today his heart is bleeding. Today his soul is breaking. I say nothing. Words have deserted me. Just what do I say to such a man? I knew much about him, but all he said was new to me. He had lost his father, his mother. 3 siblings have already gone to the dust, and his only young sister is always sickly, but a good performer. And so he shouts, "Does God even listen when we pray?" And his young wife, she delivered, but the baby died. She left him, took her bags, and went away. She said Daniel is covered by the spirit of death. Does God listen when we pray? He asks again. But Daniel is a churchman. He's always at his home reading his psalms. He doesn't quarrel anybody or fight anybody. And so deep down, I want to tell him that God listens. I want to tell him that he answers our prayers. He's the provider, the comforter, who is always there for us. I want to tell Daniel all this. But that night, as I took to my bed, my heart was full. Deep down, I knew God has never stopped listening when we pray.